Okay, so thank you for attending today's webinar. Sure that this is a fascinating event ever I have done. I have done many several webinars related to DTx, but this is the first time actually to join all the stakeholders, especially the founders in DTx startups, join together. And then we will discuss about what the current situation and what will be the future direction and how we get together and then we can collaborate. Okay, so I will go over what the current situation and then what's the discussion topic we are going to do, and then we are going to move into the other session of today's topic. Okay, so first I will share uh, my screen. So I hope see you can see my presentation, right? I assume that you already have it. Okay, so
Yes, yes.
let me check that. Okay, so I will start slide. Okay, so you see that we have a excellent lineup of today's speakers. So we have eight founders from all over the world. So actually, we just talk about the Olympic in Paris, and then the speakers are all of the place in North America, South America, and European region, and one speaker actually in the Middle East, but I'm not sure is in the middle of the travel in the airplane. So hopefully he land and join. Okay, so I'd like to share that what the current stats actually that I recently filed up all the global startup, leading startup. Actually, I counted about, if I count the not listed in my analysis, actually, I just count around 300 startups globally. And then I select 200 the readers in DTx space. And then I based on actually their target health condition because of we are DTx, where the intervention and treatment is a major field. So targeting some health condition like disorders and disease. So we have many different like cognitive, mental, neurological, and other like behavior and internal medicine and other kind of like all different type of in the medicine is the related treatment is there I found the global distribution of the startup. And then based on this, actually recently I wrote a yellow book and then the today's speakers actually provided some feedback and I just want very best writing. Actually, with feedback with Dominic is a popular, so I just give this as an example here. But I will share the all the like attendance about the speakers this profile, and then later, and then I'm on the process of got the like a response. So I got the feedback from dozen startups founders. And then if I don't finish, and I'm going to publish this one later. And particularly, I'm interested in the innovation direction. So not just the startup, what's going on. So this include the patents, the global patent application, and then from not just from the startups and from the incumbent and other like pharmaceutical companies and especially the university research center, something like that. And I found more than 250 actively that innovating is based. And then I found that the mostly they focus on mental health and majority is mental health, chronic health, and chronic condition. And but many area, actually the nearly all aspect of the health condition they target in innovations. So innovation support the product and commercialization development. So this will be the driving force. And then a lot of startups based on this and then develop the product, the commercial product can be applied in actual clinic application. And this is the unfortunate situation that I noticed that recent, like a notice of something that problem, maybe some problem or situation. I think that the situation, some difficult situation, DTx industry, like all the pioneers, peer therapeutic, better therapeutics, and even Akili and Altai all have after their IPO have a problem, like a bankrupt and delisted from the like Nasdaq, and the financial problem and merge to other companies sell out, and then keep learning on the loss. So I noticed that this is very rare situation that I've been in 30 years in high tech industry, and I've seen all the life cycle startup, and they went to like unicorns and the octacons, whatever metacons. But this situation is very I noticed because what happened, and then I tried to find out what is the best way to avoid this kind of situation. And then I want to have a discussion about this topic because we have a founders, so they will be very heavily think about their successful the launch of their business, and so they will care about their business. So they have a very good idea, and we can share idea how it can be done, and then I will share my idea how to do, particularly that I found that it's because we need some ecosystem level collaboration. This is one that I found it. And this is some good news because recently that this is a candidate for the CMS, the reimbursement code can apply in the mental health area. So as of the quarter 2, that the how many product FDA cleared the product in mental health that can be actually benefit for this kind of good news. So I just made some examples, and maybe it's more, the miss maybe, but anyway, because there still doesn't actually in the commercial product already FDA cleared, they can be applied this health insurance reimbursement benefit. Okay, and then this is my idea that why that they kind of like some financial difficulty, have an operation difficulty even with the IPO because of the adoption problem, right? Because DTx is still early stage and not fully adopted, fully recognized in the mainstream of the healthcare industry. That's why. So there are many ways. Example that how you can be adopted, like how, and then there are many ways. Like for example, I just the write down in the like a discussion topic, but actually the pathway we should be think about the where we are in the correct pathway. And then another thing is that whether our product innovation is enough to be adopted, right? As a mainstream to be to the eyes of the other mainstream healthcare, like the ecosystem stakeholders. And then I think that we need to be collaborate not just in the inside of the digital therapeutic ecosystem. I just look at the whole ecosystem of the digital health, and then I found that they are very interrelated, and then we need to be collaborate other, especially that the main is to interaction between the stakeholders, especially the healthcare providers and patient interaction is the key. And then how we actually can be the put in the product, DTx product in the space will be, for example, the idea is that there are frontiers of the like in the in just like in front of this interface is, for example, telemedicine kind of the home care or the patient remote monitoring and medical diagnostics. They are a little bit more established, more adopted than DTx. So we can think about that how we can put our DTx to other ecosystem partners can be more familiar, more recognized, can be collaborate and synergetically can promote. So this is the idea that recently I coming out. So I just read about the 470 global digital health startups. I made the global map here. Okay, so I'm done. So after my talk, we'll have about 20 minutes to the each global startups introduction time. So I think that we have a speaker, some are maybe in airframe now. So we will start from Dominic for the Perfume, and then Amos and Yasmin and Alexander, and then so the clockwise. So it's a clockwise and Carlos and Linera and Mady and I think that this guy is in still Alpha, so he did not give me a heel bill, right? But anyway, so could you introduce yourself and your company very briefly? And after this one, we'll have a discussion. So potential discussion topics will be like a DTx pathway strategy, right? So so how we can make more like smart pathway to save time, money, and then to make more like available that our resources for the future thing. And then sustainable revenue generation because usually that we found that still is very difficult except the recent like CMS code for the mental health care area that without any like reimbursement actually the prescription type of DTx like a value proposition has some problem. So we can think about what the recent effort was, for example, over the counter like B2C or B2BT, and then we can think of we done all right. Is there any flexible business model we can think about more? And then fundraising is one actually that one reason is that because in the early stage, like if you are not deep pocket, right? Usually the startups are not deep pocket, even in IPO, then keep like investors like interest is very important. How you get the investors interest and keep going on fundraising is very important. And product innovation, right? And then I found it because I started all the innovation and I look at the detail about their features through their pattern application. And I found it still is very complex. Even if you have like all the procedure is based on AI, XR, whatever the all the like the innovate technology is based on, but to the like when actually used by the patient, it should be very simple. When you promote to the doctor, it should be very simple. So we need to think about is there any other ways actually that we can simplify this product through the innovation? And the collaboration I mentioned, we need the ecosystem level collaboration required. So this is one. And then we can talk about the exit strategy, right? Because we the IPO is not the correct answer that we can. And then I found that the unique with DTx with like compared to the other industries that I've experienced. For example, that I've been in the high tech with the semiconductors or the electronic devices, the telecommunications, all these startups actually that have some core industry. What I mean is like because they acquired by the main business stakeholders. For example, a lot of the like startups in the software in the high tech are acquired by the Google or good like a big giant. Actually, that they looking at the company to exit. But I found that TTX is very certain because we are not anchored to any kind of tech kind of industry. It's a new, right? So and then I found that there are several exit going on in M&A, but I think there is internal family marriage. I think that in my case it started actually to like DTx with DTx merge. I've seen that, and the DTx and another digital has merged, right? But I never seen like reason like incumbent like a pharmaceutical actually acquire this kind of startup, right? Because we need something that kind of like exit strategy we need to explore. So this one will be the topic that we need to uh think about it. So let's start to introduce yours. Let's start from Dominic. And whoever actually that you if you remember the order, whatever they jump in and they can talk about it. Dominic, can you start first?
Yes, Alex, thank you so much. Thanks for having me here. I'm happy to join. I'm Dominic. I'm one of the founders and CEO of Perfood. Perfood was founded 7 years ago. We are a founding team of four, three medical doctors. I myself have a background in business, finance, and law. Um, the company has around 100 people. We've raised around 20 million euros in venture capital so far. And what we do is we use data from continuous glucose monitoring and artificial intelligence, and we apply personalized low glycemic diet, as we call it, as active ingredient to a variety of indications. We have 2 commercial stage indications in Germany under the DiGA scheme, one for migraines that has been in the market now for 18 months, roughly, and the other one for type 2 diabetes. The core technology we intend to apply to a variety of indications, but our current focus is really on migraine and type 2 diabetes. And we see very strong clinical data that's basically able to compete with what modern drugs are achieving. So in type 2 diabetes, we see roughly 7 kilograms of body weight reduction after 6 months. In migraine, we see responder rates that are in the range of what modern monoclonal CGRP antibodies are able to achieve. So our positioning is really that the digital therapy is an alternative to drugs that would usually be prescribed to patients.
Thank you. Next, Amos.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Amos Adler, co-founder of A4I, the App for Independence. We're a patented digital mental health patient companion app and clinical portal. We're actually a spin out from a leading Canadian hospital called CAMH, or the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. And we've been essentially iterating and co-designing and validating A4I to improve outcomes, to scale peer support and clinical decision support, and identify risk of relapse in severe mental illness. So that's things like schizophrenia, psychosis, bipolar disorder, and most recently, opioid use disorder. And I am also the CEO of MemoText, a platform for the co-creation of digital patient engagement and digital therapeutics. That's a platform upon which A4I sits. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Yasmin?
Hi, Yasmin Van Wilt. I'm the co-founder of Neural Positive, a neurotech spinout from Cornell, Columbia, and Stanford. We have AI-powered medical music. So essentially, it is on-demand, patient or user-driven music experiences to attenuate the symptoms of anxiety. And we validated first at Weill Cornell with patients who had anxiety and interstitial lung disease, and then gave to a population that had anxiety in addition to substance use disorders, and have also validated with patients that have Parkinson's and have a pipeline of central nervous system diseases. Our partnerships span hospitals, clinics, and larger hardware organizations for integration. We have an API-driven business model, so partnerships with Spotify and Apple and other hardware and software enterprise-level customers enable us to get our product out to people who basically use any streaming platform.
Thanks. Alexander?
Hello, everyone. I'm Alexander Democh, co-founder of Nocture Care. We are a German-French company with the head office based in France, Paris. We are specialized on cardiovascular diseases and more specifically on coronary artery disease, where we are launching the first prescriptive digital therapy for patients after a heart attack here in France under the newly introduced PCAN reimbursement scheme in France.
Thanks. Carlos? Carlos?
Yes, I was unmuting here. So, hello everyone. I'm Carlos Rodriguez. I'm the CEO of Cognifit. Cognifit is a company that has been around for many years. So our goal, my vision, is to improve cognitive health through digital tools. So basically, we have 2 types of products. We have developed very accurate cognitive assessment batteries to assess cognition in a very broad way. So basically, we can assess the cognitive health of a patient remotely in a very accurate way. We have norms based on more than 5 million users already. So it's a very large database for normative sets. And with this information, we are able to then improve cognition in different angles. So we have 22 endpoints that we measure and that we can improve. So we have a product that is in the market and that is making money very well in the wellness area. But because we improve cognition, there is always this angle of how we can help to treat conditions. So like Parkinson, dementia, MCI, depression, insomnia, all those conditions that are actually impacting and impairing cognitive health. So we have over 35 product validations for specific conditions. So we have a very large pipeline of digital therapeutics for treating conditions that are shown to improve performance on cognition in just about 20 sessions. The question here, and that's why I'm interested in discussing with you guys, is like whether the wellness market is very easy and you go and you sell it and you have a subscription. The digital therapeutic market, because it's designed for drugs and we are not drugs, it's very complicated. So in order to get reimbursement or be prescribed by doctors. So our model, and I will explore this later on the open discussion, is basically to offer our solutions to other players in the ecosystem. So we're happy to discuss about these opportunities and our strategies and experiences later on.
Thank you. Denara?
Hi, hello everyone. Great to be here. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of SleepUp, which is a DTx from Brazil. I think the first one in Latin America. We had our local regulatory approval in 2021. So we developed a clinically validated DTx for insomnia. We work also with apnea, with integration of wearables to monitor sleep and neurological conditions, neurodegenerative conditions. We developed clinically validated electroencephalogram headband for monitoring sleep. And yeah, that's great to be here. It will be great to discuss more about all these topics. Thank you.
Thank you. Mahdi?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mehdi Mortazavi. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Cordio. We specialize in non-invasive cardiac and hemodynamics monitoring using advanced smart wearable technology. So at Cordio, we're developing a pioneering SaaS platform with patented algorithms that we enable accessible escalation avoidance for heart failure. Our platform utilizes existing routine checkup equipments or patient wearables to non-invasively measure patient-specific hemodynamic signals that are typically obtained invasively through catheterization or echo. So these measurements are proven to aid cardiologists in triaging patients, medication titration, and progress tracking, leading to improved patient outcome and reduced readmissions. We've demonstrated 95% accuracy so far in preliminary testing with our patented digital twin algorithm, and we're currently expanding our IRB and clinical studies to 100 patients. Some of the partners include MIT, Seton Labs, Samsung, InterSystems, and some of the major hospitals on the East Coast. So we are on the track for FDA clearance and poised for kind of market adoption, aiming to revolutionize heart failure management. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to our discussion.
Thank you. And finally, I'm not sure he noticed that he is in airframe now. Avi, are you there? Probably not.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
No, I am.
Really?
I am.
Oh,
Yes,
wonderful.
sir. Sorry, I've got. I unfortunately can't put my camera on, but hey, everyone, my name's Abhishek. I'm the founder of Wealthy Therapeutics, which got recently acquired by TrueDoc, and together with TrueDoc, we're probably the largest, one of the largest digital health companies now in the Middle East. Essentially, we have a wide range of digital therapeutics on chronic disease management, about 13 conditions which are clinically validated, live in the UAE, in Saudi, in India, and in Nigeria. And great to connect. We essentially work with private and public payers. We work with government systems, where our aim is how do we use digital therapeutics to drive down cost savings with insurers and to enable value-based contracts as a complement to the larger scheme of primary care. So our model of monetization is slightly different in the sense that we found reimbursement as a standalone digital therapeutic to be a struggle. But when you combine it with in between provider visits, but basically synchronized with provider ICD codes, we find an incredible opportunity to be able to not just improve outcomes and drive down cost savings, but really share in the revenue that can come from delivering high quality primary care, and then in turn driving avoidable ER visits and hospitalization visits. So great to connect. Where I'm really lucky. I have a team of about almost 300 people across these regions working with me tirelessly as we hopefully attempt to hit our 10 million impact goal in the next 5 to 7 years. It's great to be connected.
Thank you. Oh, fantastic. Because I just worry about whether we're in time to join. Okay. Okay, so we're done for the all interaction.
And Alex,
yeah,
Alex, this is Grady Hanna from Nightwear. I apologize for interrupting. I cannot stay the entire period, but I think a very important development, and I joined late. I'm a great guy. So there is a new CMS proposed rule for behavioral health digital therapeutics that is underway.
And you know that because I already introduced in my introduction, and that I mentioned your company. You miss it.
I apologize for that.
Yeah.
And so
if you look at the recording, I already mentioned it, and then I list up the potential like beneficially company and product, and then yours one of them. Okay, so thank you for attending.
Where I'm going with this is I added my email to the chat for anybody who wants to join the open comment period. We're doing a working group with trade associations, including AdvaMed, and their leads in their digital therapeutics. And so again, thank you for organizing this. And again, I apologize for repeating what you've already said, joining late and leaving early. I'm not making a good impression here, I fear. So thank you again, and please continue.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to start our discussion session. So I will give you something that before this. Actually, this discussion section is not formally tightly we set the topic, right? Because that's just recommend I set a potential discussion topic. But anyway, you know about what the current state of DTx. And then my motivation doing is that the gather together DTx like founders and executives and key stakeholders to like a brainstorming about what's the best way to like a successful business run. So I just gave you some hint like a pathway to many like exit strategy, collaboration, innovation, but whatever you can share. So not only for the like speakers today, that I invite many other founders and then executive and then key person in DTx company. So anyone can share your insight. So whoever want to talk, you can talk, right? So first to start, actually, I will start with the speakers. So I think that if you have it, and then you can share it. If you have not, that's okay, because we are not forced to anyone to just say everything. But if you have anything to share with other your insight, then you can start. So I will just start. The Dominic, why don't you start first, and then any other speakers, audience, you have to share your like insight, you can share, and then also like you can leave your question, and then I will make like a LinkedIn post, and then I made like some further discussion like a ground. So at that stage actually I will put all the question you have, and then we cannot raise that question today. And then I will leave the question in my LinkedIn post to like, for example, sharing the recording. And then you can discuss further in through that. Okay, so why don't you start Dominic first, and then other people want to share, then you can share your insight.
Yeah, I mean, Chair, so regarding the topics that you had listed before, I mean, I can tell you about the German or the European view. What we are observing that the regulatory environment is progressing well. I think in Germany we have a very good regulatory setup. France, I'd like to know from Alex how it's doing, because we as Perfood, we are also currently working on it, and I know that many other German bigger startups are also working on France. But I actually just read this week that Italy and Portugal are also moving forwards with reimbursement of digital therapeutics. So from a market access pathway, I believe that it's clearly going the reimbursement route. Being a medical device pays off. also from our perspective, we don't see that medical doctors are hesitant. It takes time. So if you want to drive prescription, at Perfood, we have a sales force. So it's traditional, like pharma is doing it. People are on the ground with their cars, approaching medical doctors every day. It's super positive. People are always very interested, but it's obviously a crowd of people that doesn't have so much time, that gets a lot of information every day. They're stressed. And so you need to be patient a little bit, schedule appointments at the medical doctors. There might be a couple of months in between each of these appointments, but you really see, once you've seen the medical doctor beyond 6 times, then prescriptions are really picking up. So we observe that in those practices, people are prescribing regularly, and we have people prescribing our product up to 100 times a month already. So that's a good thing. And that's one individual doctor, right? So I believe that we have a great opportunity in this pathway here, and the situation over the last 1.5 years is temporary, and it will be over within the next couple of months.
Wow, fantastic. I think that maybe Alexander, maybe you can give your answer and the insight about the France situation.
Of course, I mean, France has the benefit of leveraging all the lessons learned from Germany, things which didn't work well in prescribing digital therapies, how are the digital therapies reimbursed. Before I say anything further, I mean, there's right now no DTx yet on the French market. So there are a couple of those in the application process, but there's no final DIGA yet on the market. But to give you some nuances on how the regulators are trying to improve processes is, for example, in Germany, you need to apply for a prescription code, which was then handled by your insurance, which then sent it back to you. And all this process back then took 3 weeks. They changed it now, but it's still not harmonized. Whether in France, they're going to introduce different methods, as for example, that the patient can get the login codes already at the pharmacy where they are getting also their other prescriptions. So a very streamlined process. And also for companies which are just starting the regulatory files, you have in France 2 checkups, 2 information and consulting sessions with the corresponding authorities, where you can say, hey, we have designed this clinical study. Is this likely to go through the regulatory process at the end? What chances do we have to go through this for the price negotiations? So they've built on the lessons learned from the last 3 to 4 years in Germany in order to streamline the processes. In the end, as I said, there's nothing yet on the market, so we need to see whether that's successful or not. But at least we hope that this will help and enable to be faster on the market and scale successfully.
Thank you. How about Amos?
Yeah, well, so my experience is definitely different than the European experience. We're based in Canada, and our market is the US. So obviously, there have been certain players that you mentioned earlier that made things a little bit more difficult for the rest of us over here in the last year or two. But that doesn't mean that there aren't answers, especially when it comes to sustainability. And I think you also raised the point about the fact that there's a lot of companies that sort of went up really fast and then came crashing down very quickly as well. Our strategy in terms of sustainability revenue generation is really to figure out the pathways to supporting existing CPT codes, existing reimbursement, things around, for example, for us, the support of certified peer support workers, the availability of bolting onto remote patient monitoring and remote therapeutic monitoring codes. Yes, there's all sorts of activity with the new codes for mental health, for CMS and Medicare. Obviously, that's of great interest to us. And one of your questions earlier on in the document was also around how do you extend your timeline, because in this space, as everybody is quite well aware of, 5 years is tomorrow. So really, how do you create that long-term way of building value, building a SaaS-based business, and while you're showing outcomes, while you're validating, while you're integrating. All of those different components are key, obviously, not just in North America, but in Europe as well. We're super excited to see the progress in Europe with the DIGA and sort of that adoption cycle, and how you're setting the example now, in my humble opinion, as to how things can be working in both the single payer and a multi-payer system. So yeah, that's kind of my take on things.
Thank you. How about Yasmin?
Okay, so I have a couple of things that might be broadly relevant to the group. We have customers predominantly in the United States, but we also have customers in Europe and in the Middle East and North Africa. So our go-to-market has been in the United States, and due to some of the de-incentivizations for going direct to consumer, we've marketed entirely to hospitals, clinics, and in many cases, other digital therapeutics. So something that may be valuable, which I'm happy to talk to the other folks on this call about. If you're at the Series B stage or beyond as a startup, we've been working within our team for about 10 years, long before we ever spun out from academia, to develop an international network of institutions, universities, and academic hospitals where we could validate internally and relatively rapidly. So by having a team of people who are focused on neurotechnology and digital technology at scale, that are at the intersection of AI, academically, neurology, psychiatry, and computational neuroscience, we've been able to create this pretty rapid testing system. So if there are people that have mature products that are on this call and they're trying to enter the American market, bring a conversation over here. We're happy to talk to you about what we can do together. We're in an interesting and rapid stage of growth, so happy to share what we've learned through this process. The second thing, which I hope translates internationally, is that the use of real-world data and real-world evidence has become an important point of validation for not only pharmaceuticals and biologics, but also for digital companies and also hardware companies. And there's now a growing list of FDA-approved technologies that have reached validation and have achieved clearance purely by using data that has been collected by real-world end users. So this presents a potentially radical new way of decreasing cost, more rapidly getting to the consumer, and very, very importantly, showing that there's actually a desire to use the product, because that's where the great valley of death exists for many companies, between having something that works and people wanting to use it, people wanting to fill prescriptions. We see Therapeutics, Akili, these other companies that were giants that made big bets, assuming that if they had something that worked, end users would want to use it. And that was, unfortunately, a massive miscalculation. So anyway, doors open to collaboration. Carlos, Renata, Amos, Alexander, and Mehdi, Dominic too, I actually know companies, pharmaceuticals operating in your space that are open to doing joint ventures that have money. So, hit me up.
Oh, thank you. I have one thing that actually to talk with you, because when it discussed initial, actually, you try to introduce your CMO from Google, right? And I noticed, because what I found that, because we need some strategy that can be like we need more people from outside too, like me, because I've been 30 years in industry like Google, right? I've been like a big tech or like big tech giant or something like that. And never been in this kind of, I think there's a difference between these therapeutics like healthcare and the big tech is here is very, very focused and then very like customized product development. And the big tech, they throw the big revenue and then multi-product and mass production, right? So it's a somewhat different characteristic, but anyway, have you have any good some experience to hire someone outside of the healthcare, but have a very experience in global market like you to to have the CMO from the Google, previous Google like business developer. So I want to hear from you that your experience to bring some expertise from outside, have an experience in the much bigger market and ecosystem, and then whether you have a good feeling about that or not.
You're asking me, or you're asking the next speaker? I wasn't sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you told me that you tried to introduce me to your CMO from Google, right? That's why.
So yes, I was very fortunate to have met people from various different companies, and our chief medical officer has been a chief medical officer of public companies. Our chief clinical officer comes from a background, MD, PhD in neurotechnology. And my chief financial officer had 30 years on Wall Street, and CTO was actually the co-founder of About.com that then exited to a large company and ended up being part of the big backbone of Google marketing, and then was the chief architect of Spotify, and then helped to take it public. So we have quite a few people from big industry in our team, and I don't know if it's an entirely replicable model, but I would just say that just being very bold and reaching out to people, especially if they have a core area of passion or interest, is very helpful. We can't exist in a vacuum. So if we pay it forward and we have a willingness to be open to exposing ourselves to sometimes really not knowing how to navigate in a different space, I think we have a better chance of surviving major bear periods, because diverse teams make stronger teams, whether that's by having a number of people with different backgrounds, different ethnic groups, different geographic locations, different levels of expertise. An all academic team sometimes makes a tremendously interesting product that absolutely nobody wants to use. And a Google team could make something that's, scalable and slick, but might not have the bones or the meat that are necessary for something to be truly viable. So yes, somebody just made a great point about this being the point of innovation. Yeah, exactly. Sometimes these things can't be born out of large institutions. They have to spin out from big places and start small to get big. Of course, that's just my own tiny perspective, but in whatever way I can be useful to the other people who are in, similar positions, scaling up and looking to try to bring cross-sectional teams and or even, introductions to investors, I'm happy to do it.
Thank you. Okay, Carlos?
Yes, so I will say that the most interesting knowledge I can share with the group and experience is that, and it resonates with a lot with what Amos was saying, because our experience at Cognifit, although a very big part of the team is in Spain, we operate mostly in the US, and we have been around for many years. So, and we started with a B2C product, which is going to resonate with what Jasmine just said. So I will share two angles. One thing is 100%. I think the usage, making something that is very easy to use, that my grandmother can use, that everybody can understand, that's key. Because it's very often what happens is that we end up with something validated that actually works, but it's very hard to use. So it's not going to fly in the market. So in our experience, because we have this B2C business, our products are easy to use. Then we have solutions that were more attractive, but not only to the patients, but as well to the doctors and the practitioners and people that actually need to share and prescribe these solutions. So I will say that's critical. And I always encourage everyone to have a B2C solution to see, but in this case, you obviously cannot claim that you are going to treat any condition, because then you will face FDA issues or regulatory issues. But depending on the area where you are, you may appear as a wellness product. So for me, it's easier. Cognifit is about mental health. So we have a suite of products for mental health on improving cognitive skills. This is, you don't require approval and clearance from the FDA to treat cognition, only if you make claims around specific diseases. So this helps you once. It may help you and you may discover that you have a business there, that you don't need to go in a very complicated regulatory way. But most important is you are going to make your product better for the end consumer. So that's one big learning for us. Second is that regulatory, you may go, and we have been in discussions myself personally and my team with the FDA during the years. At the time, talking with Achille and Peer Therapeutics at the time, actually Peer Therapeutics wanted to license some of our Cognifit products for them to go through the regulatory path because they had more experience. And I discovered that this is, because this is quite new, and it's even, we have been 10 years around, but it's still new. So the regulation in the US is very hard, and they were very protective to approve those things, and it becomes very constrained. So even if you get through and you get the process through, which is feasible, and some companies, as you saw before, has done it, it doesn't assure you success, because then going into the market is a market designed for other type of solutions. So we are more like a med tech, in my view. We are more like we develop things that can be used in an ecosystem as a piece of the ecosystem. So not just a 100% product that can be sold like a blister of drugs, which is pretty simple to deliver on a pharmacy. How we are delivering on a pharmacy is not obvious because we are digital. This is delivered in the app store, so a doctor is never going to tell you go to the app store. So there is certain constraints. So my second learning, and when I want to share with you guys, is like, my strategy is I'm more humble. I don't envision Cognifit to go and say, okay, this is a full solution for you to treat dementia or PTSD. We are discussing now with the Veteran Affairs and other bodies that has many patients around and that have the resources to pay for these solutions. And the main thing is that we become embedded to a larger solution. So my strategy is to offer the best-in-class assessments and the best-in-class exercises for improving cognition that can be embedded. We have validated our pieces, and those are embedded in telemedicine platforms. They are embedded in software for hospitals. They are embedded in other companies' products. And so the company can forget about the testing because we cover this part, but they can think what to do with the results of the testing. They can forget about exercising working memory if this is something that is relevant for them, because we do this very well. But this may be in the frame of exercising working memory for a dementia type of products or for early Alzheimer. So this type of thing. So my suggestion is less, and in my more than 10 years working these battles, is like we need to be humble and not try to address a full condition treatment because that's bloody complicated. We are not a drug. But we certainly have pieces that can improve massively, reduce cost, or improve performance on treating other things. And in this case, in so many cases, we don't really need the regulatory clearance. We only need a certain validations to make sure that we are embedded in a solution that then will have a clearance. So that will be my kind of learning and suggestions for you. So as Jasmine we said, and I will contact you, Jasmine, as well for the validation piece, because we have a very large research platform. We are having like 400 universities running studies on our products right now as we speak. So I'm very happy to offer these products for larger validations. So that will be my thinking and my learnings for you guys.
Thank you, Mehdi.
Thank you, everyone. So first thing that I want to mention is that even though in the long-term vision, we are considering the digital therapeutic side of things, but right now we are focused on software as a medical device, sort of diagnosis and monitoring right now. And so our path with the FDA is Class 2 510(k) clearance, which is pretty standard way. And we're sort of gathering data through IRB studies to kind of go to the FDA with the pre-submission next year and tell them, hey, this is how much data we have. How much more do you want? And so then based on that, kind of design our pivotal clinical trial to kind of get the 510(k) clearance. And that's for a simple outcome metric. Now, after we've done that, we'll be designing larger clinical trials to be able to demonstrate longitudinally how much we were able to save readmission rates for heart failure, how much we were able to basically improve the patient's outcome, mortality rate, length of stay, all these metrics that are really important in the US for CMS, for the payers, as well as the hospitals, as we are moving from a fee-for-service system towards a value-based care. That becomes really important. So for our sort of business model, we are thinking about a B2B SaaS subscription platform that we sell to the hospitals first year, which is very cheap because it's basically a software as a service solution. So there's no hardware involved. And so that first year, that's kind of the business model. Now, after 1 year, we kind of look with the hospital CFO and the procurement team, who are usually the decision maker. The cardiologists are usually the champions, but the decision makers are the CFOs and the procurement team. And so after that 1 year, we'll show them how much readmission we were able to save them. And so based on that, we will be asking for 10%, 20% of shared saving from the hospital. And so that's kind of what we are trying to do. And then also enabling hospital to generate revenue through RPM, or remote patient monitoring, which is quite a significant market for sort of the nurse team of the hospital to check. And for our go-to-market strategy, our plan is sort of kind of like crossing the chasm, if any of you have heard, is you start with the simple, smaller clinics and hospitals that are very tech-savvy, that would love to kind of adopt your technology. And those would kind of be our initial pilot studies that will adopt our technology. And then through gathering more data, we will go to larger academic medical hospitals like the MGH, like Stanford or Johns Hopkins, and then try to kind of convince them as well through the FDA announcement that, hey, we have this thing. And then based on that, basically sort of targeting the organizations that are basically ACOs within the fee-for-service, so accountable care organizations that really care about the value-based care, as well as bundled payment. So congestive heart failure has a bundled payment specific with the payers, where they give a certain amount of money for 3 months, where they have to kind of diagnose, monitor, treat the patient within that time frame. And so we'll be kind of targeting those hospitals, especially in the regions that are suffering a lot, like the southern US and the Midwest area. And so that's a little bit about what we do. And thank you, Yasmin, for suggesting that. I'll be reaching out to you as well to get more information.
Thank you. Okay, so all done from the speakers to share their insight. And then we are going to share from audience. I think that Eric, are you there?
Yeah, Alex, I'm here. How are you?
Okay, so actually he's supposed to be our guest speaker, but because of his current some professional situation that he cannot be officially done, but actually he's one of our guest speakers too. Actually, we met in the recent Boston area in healthcare innovation technology AI investors, the meeting, and actually we met together, and then he noticed me. And then we discussed about how we can bring the value to the DTx space, and then he has a lot of the good ideas. And I asked him to invite him to talk about his insight to our meeting. Okay, so why don't you talk about your insight?
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to be here and to meet all of our panelists today. And of course, to recount his story a little bit, I noticed all the amazing content that Alex was posting on LinkedIn. When I bumped into him at this meeting, I couldn't believe my eyes. But really honored to be here. And of course, Alex, thank you so much for the invitation. I'll just sort of put up front contextually. I'm happy to provide these comments from a personal perspective, and I'm here representing myself. I can't be here representing my employer just because of some coordination components. I started working for them last week. So, we're still working through the kinks a little bit. But the perspectives that I wish to share were on the DTx value proposition in a value-based care space. And I've heard so many of the speakers on this call talk about the very key cogs of that process that I was planning on highlighting, like showing evidence that you can reduce total cost of care, showing that you can establish and make progress on those HEDIS measures that would be included as the quality-based metric thresholds in a value-based contract between a payer and a provider group. And I heard, Mehdi, you talking about establishing longitudinal studies that illustrated a reduction in hospital readmission that would ultimately contribute to the argument that you can reduce total cost of care. And I was planning on discussing those key cogs and stating that that is an incredibly valid approach to be taking in this environment where there is going to be this transition from fee-for-service to value-based. And in my due diligence, I found that Aetna is looking to expand to about 75 to 85% of their contracts being accounted for under a value-based care contract. Same goes with other major players like Anthem and Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, so on, and Cigna. Humana's almost entire business model is based on value-based contract performance. So I believe that the aim that you're all taking is the appropriate one with respect to targeting these kind of HEOR studies that can illustrate total cost of care reduction over time. I would strongly recommend that when you are looking to engage with payers, that you're getting ahead of the game on identifying those particular populations that are contributing the most to their total cost of care spend. I worked with an IPA like what you just, when you talked about ACO targets, I worked with an IPA in New Jersey who saw a lot of their spend coming from opioid use, which brought me over to Amos's point when he was talking about entry into the US market. My first thought when I heard that was, oh, well, he should go and talk to the payers who are working with the IPA that I worked with in New Jersey, because they would be clamoring for some form of low cost and highly effective tool that could support total cost of care management for patients with those conditions. So I would love to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. I'm probably going to add almost everybody who's an attendee on this call. I believe that we're all making, the valid arguments with respect to value-based. One final point that I want to make, and I know Maddie, I'm giving you a lot of my attention today, but I hope this is, helpful for everybody who's looking to navigate this space. When you talk about approaching health systems, hospitals, et cetera, of course, conducting your due diligence and understanding which are more prone to adoption, which aren't, how the implications of integrating your technology will impact their workflow. They're all, of course, important questions to ask. I would just state that as a potential rule of thumb, that some of the more advanced health systems and progressive systems like Mayo Clinic or MGH might be more open to this sort of adoption than the smaller and more regional health systems. That primary group of health systems that I referenced are also the ones that technically have the capabilities that they need to succeed in a value-based contract. So they'll have built out all the pop health management capabilities that they need to support with care administration, care coordination, behavioral and social service coordination and integration and into the patient's standard care than some other IPAs. I worked with IPAs that were building those capabilities from the ground up, and they were among the ones who were struggling to make this transition successfully from the fee-for-service or fee-for-service plus quality environment to a truly value-based environment where they're graduating from shared savings contracts to partial risk and deep risk. So just think about that as a rule of thumb. Again, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be here. My background is in healthcare consulting. I'm working, these days on digital therapeutics specifically to support their market access journey. And I'm leveraging my background in value-based care and my understanding of those contractual dynamics to support organizations on their pathways there. Alex, I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity to contribute to today's webinar. And I would love to get in touch with every one of you on LinkedIn and continue the conversation from there.
Thank you. Okay, so we're all done. And then if you, I think that some people actually left now. So if you want to leave, you can leave. And anyone actually leave your final comment or from the audience, because I'm going to share all you have shared in the chat in my LinkedIn post. So you can post our webinar. Actually, you can keep going on. For example, if you have connect with us, I will put all the text in my LinkedIn profile, so you can keep going on. But for the recording purpose, because we have like 204 registers and not many people join actually, but they will want to look at the recording. So final comment or whatever you open like a question or the open question to specific speakers, whatever. I will give you 5 minutes to have it, and then we can finish up. Okay. Okay. Is anyone other than leaving in the chat, if you wanna speak out, and then and leave your question or a comment in the recording? Anyone? Yep, you go ahead. Yep. Okay, so many people may be shy about it. But anyway, so, thank you for attending today because it was a great honor to have this kind of the very insightful
Hi,
discussion.
Alex.
Oh, okay, okay. You can have an opportunity. You can talk about it. Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. This is Manal speaking. I'm sorry. I was away from the phone, so I couldn't really unmute myself easily. I just had a question. I think Grady, who came briefly and left, he spoke about a group or a working group that is discussing digital therapeutics policies. I was wondering, is this group open? Do you hear me? Do you hear me well?
Yeah. So what is your question?
Hello?
Yeah. Could you repeat your question?
Okay, so I said the question, but it seems like you didn't hear me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so probably some network problem. So I think that please leave your question in chat. So I record the chat text.
To it.
Yeah, and then I will share the question or the someone maybe relevant to give you answer, right? Okay.
There's a DTx that's
yeah. Yasmin, go ahead.
There's a DTx working group that's actually spun out of the NIH, which is amongst the better funded and better structured of the DTx groups. And you'll find a lot of the original founders across the DTx space were some of the original adopters. So that might be a place where you might find some of the information you're looking for. There's also a Stanford group that looks at ethics with AI, and there's a big session there that's available. It's an open source conversation on LinkedIn, so you can definitely feel free to head over there. There are a lot of founders that have exited in the DTx space, and then actually a lot of advisors and experts. So it's not a bad place if you're looking for a co-founder or an advisor to possibly find someone there.
Thank you so much, Yasmin. And this is the Stanford what? So I can Google it?
Yeah, there's a few groups. One is the Stanford Medical Group, and another is essentially an arm of the Health Ethics and AI group. And then there's another one, which is the Wu Tsai Neuroscience Institute. All of them have a lot on neurotech. It's all on LinkedIn. You can find it if you look through Stanford groups, Stanford medical groups.
Thank you so much, Yasmin, for clarifying that. I wasn't sure whether the groups are closed or open, so that's why I wanted to ask. Thank you, and thank you, Alex, for organizing this.
Thank you. So thank you for all speakers and audience, and then especially that to share your insight. It was very great, the webinar that I have experience. So my plan is to keep going on this kind of a webinar to invite more other founders and executives and the stakeholders in DTx to make I think that I want to contribute to one of the this DTx ecosystem will grow and then keep going on in sustainable and then with the including the key part of the mainstream healthcare. That's I want to be maybe small contribution, but anyway, this kind of the brainstorming webinar will be the one of the some contributed that kind of the effort. Okay, so I hope to see you in the next webinar. And then I thank you for all of you. And then I have a nice day or have a good evening or whatever, depending on your location. Okay, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Your day. Bye-bye.